Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I hope you consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and professional writing needs. Shortly, I will be joined by David Espindola. We will be discussing the impact of artificial intelligence. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits, as well as high-net-worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at info@pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bruce. It's a pleasure being here.
Take a moment or two and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. My name is David Espindola. I'll give you a little bit about my background. I started my career as an engineer in Silicon Valley. I worked at two very fast-growing technology companies, one of which did an IPO. So that was a great experience for me, just going through that process and seeing firsthand the power of technology and entrepreneurship. Then I became an executive at Oracle. I did a number of very large implementations of software solutions to improve business processes. And then I decided to pursue a career as a CIO. I became the CIO of a software company in Chicago. And now I'm the founder of Brainyus. And recently I've been focusing on bringing AI knowledge and capabilities to organizations. I published a book about 5 months ago called Soulful, You in the Future of Artificial Intelligence, that talks about the impact of AI in our future, which matches perfectly with our theme for the podcast today.
Which is not coincidental, since you chose the theme. There's something about AI, a couple of things that I find fascinating. First, AI can do code, can write code. AI was created by people who write code. So in essence, if AI is good at writing code, the creators of AI, who are code writers, have put themselves out of business.
Maybe. Yeah,
Okay.
so I think what you're getting to is this whole conversation about, I think the bigger topic here is AI going to take my job? And I think this is
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to
so
that.
Specifically to people that write
Coders.
code, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that people that write code, a lot of the things that they do will be replaced by AI. So AI is learning at an incredible speed. It will be a tremendous help to people that develop technologies. And certainly there will be some coding activities that will be replaced by AI. On the other hand, I also believe that AI itself will create new opportunities for people that have technology skills to work with the technology itself. So I'll give you an example. We now have a new profession called prompt engineer, which is basically people that are very skilled in interacting with generative AI to get the responses that they want to get from the application. This didn't exist 6 to 12 months ago, and now it's a new profession that's in demand, it's well paid. So even though the coding itself, the particular skill of writing lines of code may to an extent be replaced by AI, there'll be other technology related activities, and having that background, understanding how the code works is going to be important in doing those activities. I think that there will be new jobs that will appear that we don't even know what they are today.
That was my first question. My first the first thing that interests me. The second was how people have jumped on the AI bandwagon, especially ChatGPT.
Mhm.
And I look at this like any other software on the computer. You go to the store, you buy a new computer, you bring it home, you plug it in, you turn it on, and after you've finished loading everything, it says you need to update the software. Well, you just bought the software, so
Yep.
it should already be the newest version. So AI, in my opinion, what you buy today is going to be outdated in a week, a month, 6 months, whatever. So being first isn't necessarily being best, because the version you're working on and becoming an expert in may be totally different in 6 months' time.
Mhm.
Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. I think, this technology is changing so fast. I think this is unprecedented, just the speed with which we are experiencing technology-driven changes, and AI is no exception. So, you mentioned ChatGPT. Just to give you a sense for that, within 5 days, ChatGPT had 1 million users. If you were to compare to other famous applications, so Netflix, for instance, it took them 3.5 years to get to 1 million users. Facebook, it took them 10 months to get to 1 million users. And ChatGPT did that in just 5 days. And not only that, within months, they had over 100 million active monthly users. So the velocity that this thing is developing at is absolutely incredible. And when it first came out, it had several limitations, right? So it only had information up to 2021. It could only deal with text. Now it can go to the internet and search for the latest information. Now it's multimodal, so it understands not only text, but also voice and images. So this evolution is going to continue happening at a very, very, very rapid pace.
Explain, for me as a professional writer, I make a point of saying I don't use AI. I use RHI, which stands for Real Human Intelligence. And with me, there's no issue of copyrights. You pay me to write a speech for you, it's your speech. Now, if I go to ChatGPT and say, I want I'm reading the 10-volume biography. I will be finished on Sunday. It took me 3 months, but I read it, the 10-volume biography of Abraham Lincoln. So let's just say that I go to ChatGPT and I say, write me a 1,000-word article on the Battle of Gettysburg. It writes me a speech, 1,000 words. Sally in Los Angeles, I'm in New Jersey, so other side of the country, ask her version of ChatGPT to write her 1,000-word article on Gettysburg. Will they be identical?
I don't think so, and that's the whole beauty of these generative AI models. It's very dynamic in nature. So this is not a pre-programmed system that says if this person asks for a biography for Abraham Lincoln, this is what. And if another person asks that same question, it doesn't go back to that same response and just provide the same response. It's a very dynamic thing based on statistical models. So it's not going to be the exact same response.
Now, one of the things that people have encountered, and someone sent me a speech that had been written for them and asked me to review it. And I'm reading it, and as you can tell, I have a few books behind me, and most of them, a plurality of them are history.
Mhm.
And I'm reading this speech, and just doesn't seem right to me. And there are footnotes.
Yeah.
So I Google the footnotes, and it doesn't exist.
Right.
And then I get my last issue of Fast Company magazine, and I learn about hallucinations.
Yeah.
Which is the term for when ChatGPT makes something up. How does that happen? And how can it be prevented?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So one of the reasons why people need to be knowledgeable about how to use these systems is that, these systems are not yet to the point where they are completely reliable. So they do provide information that may not be accurate. Sometimes they do just make up stuff. And a lot of it is just based on the way these things were designed. So these things were designed to look at the context that you provide, the prompts. And then it has been trained on large language models. So, it takes information from the internet, from books, from a number of different sources to learn, what word should come up after a particular word, what sentence should come up after another sentence. And it's all based on statistics. So sometimes it will create something that is just not true at all. This is one of the things that we need to be aware of when we're using these systems. Now, that doesn't mean it's not useful, right? Because one of the things that it does really, really well is it opens your mind to the possibilities. So if you are an author, when you're trying to come up with the next chapter for your book, and you are staring at a blank page, you have the writer's block, you don't know what to write next, you can go to ChatGPT and say, I have this idea, but I'm just not coming up with the right words or the right paragraphs. Give me some ideas, to help me write this book. It will give you some great ideas. So as an idea generator, it's fantastic. Now, be aware that, if you're looking for facts, not all the facts will be accurate. So you need to be really careful with that.
I'm smiling because when I was writing my doctoral dissertation, there was a period of a couple of weeks I was blocked. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to get out of it. And one professor told me to leave a notebook by my bed at night, and when I would be dreaming, I'd think of something, and I should train myself as soon as I thought of it to wake up and write the idea down. And it actually worked, except for one little problem. I couldn't read my handwriting. I had no idea what I had written. And then another professor said, go for a walk.
Yeah.
Just go for a walk. That's it. Clear your mind, go for a walk, see whatever you see, and that'll do it. But I like this idea. I had not thought of it, to use ChatGPT. I hate acronyms for idea generation.
Yeah, but you touch on something that I think is really fascinating, right? So thinking about how the human brain works, and this whole idea, the thing that you talked about, you're trying to come up with a solution to a problem or a new idea, and sometimes you just, if you just sit down to for a walk, a shower, or you're doing something that's completely unrelated, then that idea will pop in your head, and it's like, where did that come from, right? And the trick, like you said, is for you to be ready to jot that down so you don't lose that thought. So I think this is something that we all need to be very good at, is just training ourselves to, first of all, break away from the things that we're doing, go for a walk, do something different so that you can continue to generate innovative ideas. And when that happens, be prepared to capture that thought, because if you don't, it's likely that you will forget.
You froze, but I
Oh.
think I heard you say the word shower. Did you say come up with ideas while taking a shower?
Yeah, it happens to a lot of people, right?
Oh, no, that's a great, I just wanted to make sure that everybody heard it. There's a whole library. If you Google ideas in the shower or in the bath, it's amazing the history. Churchill would take a few baths a day.
Yeah.
And that's where he would come up with his ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
now I keep my promises. You wanted to talk about AI's impact on the job market. And for obvious reasons, I also want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Now, we've all heard the horror stories of how a new technology is going to take away jobs. For example, ATM machines are going to take away jobs, and there'll be no more bank tellers. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
The example I like best is from cigarette manufacturing. It used to take one person an hour to make 50 cigarettes. Then they came up with a gizmo and automated it, and using the gizmo, one person could make 500 cigarettes in an hour. No one lost their job. Just there was a massive increase in the manufacture of cigarettes.
Yep.
Now, so I don't believe that AI is going to take away jobs, because there are some jobs that a computer cannot do. If it involves touching, for example, a human being, AI can't tell a robot to examine a patient. A robot can perform surgery, but you still have to have a surgeon there. At least today you do. So I'm not panicking that AI is going to take away jobs. Your turn to speak. What do you think is the relationship between AI and lost employment or gained employment? And by employment, I mean jobs.
Yeah. So the way that I like to think about this is the following. So I think anything that is algorithmic in nature, what I mean by that is any task that you can perform by simply following a set of instructions. I think all of those tasks will be exposed to automation, to AI. And so people will be more productive. AI will increase productivity. And if you increase productivity, one of the consequences could be that there will be a need for fewer people to do those jobs. But like in the example that you provided, if there's an increase in demand, then there will be new jobs. Now, those jobs may require new skills, right? So I think the key here for people that are worried about perhaps having their job replaced by AI, the key in my thinking is to really learn as much as possible about what AI is all about, understand how to collaborate with AI, and just, there's so many free resources available these days. Go out there, start learning about it. Don't be afraid of it, but embrace it, because it's gonna come. So it's inevitable. So the sooner you start getting comfortable with the technology, the better prepared you will be to leverage that technology to help you do your job more efficiently, and therefore you become more. Does that make sense?
Up until the end when you froze, but I'm hoping that it was only on my end, so no need to repeat yourself.
Okay.
You said a job following instructions.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at your background. I'm looking at my background. My background are IKEA bookshelves. I should charge IKEA for this plug that I purchased in 1990. And they're still up and standing. They haven't fallen down. And I had to follow the instructions how to put them together. Now, AI can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
A car is now a computer on wheels.
Yeah.
But I don't know if AI can change oil, change spark plugs, do basic mechanics. Maybe it can if they make a robot with, for lack of a better word, hands that are as sensitive as human hands, then it's possible.
Yeah.
Well, my question for you is, if AI can follow instructions,
Yeah.
and the best example I can give of an asset to AI is diagnosis of a medical disease.
Mm-hmm.
You just put all the symptoms in, and it spews out what the possibilities are, and the doctors take it from there.
Yeah.
You have no doubt heard of the two instances at Target. The man who was incensed that his daughter was getting coupons for baby products. He said, my daughter is a teenager, she's not pregnant. He actually went back and apologized. And the woman who was incensed when she got her receipt and it said, congratulations on your pregnancy, and she had been trying for years to get pregnant, and the computer at Target knew she was pregnant before she knew she was pregnant because of what she was buying. And pregnant women buy A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And that's how the computer knew what coupons or messages to send to these two women.
Yeah. Yeah.
All fine and good. My question for you is, does AI make us smarter or dumber?
Yeah, so you touched on a lot of different things. So there's a lot for us to unpack here. So let's go back to the first comment that
I
you
never
made.
said this would be an easy interview.
No, it's a very good conversation. So it's just that there's a lot of pieces to the answer. So let's go back to the bookshelf example that you gave, right? And your argument is, well, AI is not going to come to my house and build this bookshelf for me. And I think to an extent you're correct in that, anything that requires dexterity is extremely difficult for robots and AI to do. There's a lot of very capable, very smart people trying to make that work, but yet we have not been able to solve this problem. If you put a robot in an environment that is unfamiliar to that robot, it doesn't perform very well. So think about, a toddler going to the fridge, opening the door, getting a jar of water, pouring that water into a cup. A toddler can do this without thinking about it, right? Whereas for a robot to do that exact same thing, it would be extremely difficult in an unfamiliar environment. And so, to your point, yes, it is. There's going to be something that robots are not going to be as good as humans, at least for a while. The future is unpredictable. We don't know when robots are going to be as good as humans for everything. But I think based on what we see today, what we know today, we're not at that point yet. If you look at the job of a doctor, right? So you talked about diagnosis. So I think what we're going to see is AI being used more and more in helping doctors make the right diagnosis. And what's going to happen is the AI is going to become smarter and smarter because we'll have more and more cases that it can be trained on with different AI systems in different parts of the world, and they're all going to share this information and learn from each other, and the AI is going to become more and more capable. Now, what the AI can't do is what the doctor can do as a human being, which is having empathy for that patient, or even being able to establish trust. I think it would be very difficult for a human being to go see a robot and feel totally comfortable, right, with getting some kind of diagnosis or prescription from that robot. So that human skill, our human capabilities, our ability to relate to other human beings, to have empathy, to build trust, I think these are all skills that are going to be valuable and fundamental to all professions. So I think AI is going to make us smarter, but it's also going to highlight the unique human capabilities that we can bring to our profession.
That was a great answer. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it was a great question. By the way,
yes,
if I can just because that brought something to my mind. So I think one of the things that I like to say to people is, in the future, knowing what questions to ask will be a lot more important than what answers to give. So asking the right questions in the right way is going to be a very, very critical skill in the future.
Well, I have to tell you something. Every child friend I have ever had, I always ask them, and their parents, the first time I do it, say, "Why did you ask them that question?" I wouldn't ask them if they gave any good answers in class. I asked them if they asked any good questions. Mm-hmm. And how did I come up with that? I don't remember the gentleman's name. He was a Nobel Prize laureate in physics, and he was asked to whom he gave credit for his success. And he said his mother, because she didn't care if I knew the right answers, she cared if I knew the right questions.
Fantastic.
That I agree with you 100%. Now, I promised you, and I keep my promises, as I did a few minutes ago. You wanted to mention your book.
Sure.
And as you're mentioning your book, I'm going to put up your contact information.
Okay. So I published a book. Actually, this is my second book. So I wrote the first book about 3 years ago. It was called the Exponential Era. And in that book, I talk about all of these platforms that are growing at exponential speed and that are bringing just extraordinary transformation to our jobs, to industry, to our lives. And out of all the exponential platforms that I mentioned in that book, there was one that really stood out to me, and that was, AI. And so I thought that AI deserved a book all by itself. So I wrote this book that was published 5 months ago. It's called Soulful, You in the Future of Artificial Intelligence. And in the book, I cover a number of different themes. I talk a little bit about the history of AI, how we got to where we are. I talk about where I think we're going to go with it. And I touch on themes all the way to the very, from the very practical, like what are some of the key skills that we need to develop to be able to collaborate effectively with these intelligent machines, all the way to more profound questions, such as, what does it mean to humanity to have another entity that could potentially be just as smart, if not smarter than we are. So it's a book that touches on a number of different themes, but I wanted to leave people with a very positive message, a message of optimism, because one of the things that I'm seeing in general is that we're being bombarded with a lot of negative, pessimistic views of the world, especially related to technology and AI. And I think there's an optimistic view that should counter that. And that's what I try to do in the book.
And if people want to find the book, they can do it by going to davidespindola.com.
Correct. So they will see the book right in the homepage there. If you want to go specifically to the book page, just put a slash Soulful. So davidespindola.com/Soulful, and you'll find the book page there.
David, I thank you. AI has fascinated me from the beginning, not from the technological aspect, but the sociological, the anthropologic, and most importantly, the legal. And I really thank you for what you did, because you explained technology in a way that even I could understand. So I thank you. And I'm sure
Thank you, Bruce.
you appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for your excellent questions. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for listening, or thank you for watching. I'm Bruce Hurwitz, and as always, please stay focused on success.